reporting to you live from a random ass place in a random ass space and time. Thank you for putting your beautiful eyeballs on my video. Talking to my buddy the other day about Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe, this and that. He's saying, oh, if Michael Jordan would have played in today's day and age, fucking Jordan has no three ball, he can't dribble with his left hand, no handles, whatever, he would suck today. And then my other friend saying, oh, if LeBron James would have played back in Michael Jordan's day, he would suck ass. We would hit him with a forearm shiver when he gets into the paint, and he just skill set wouldn't translate, this and that. Everyone just goes way too far with these comparisons. I think LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, Kevin Durant, insert your player here. I think all of these kind of all-time great superstar style players, they would adjust to any era and they will be great in any era. It's just so hard to compare because people will say things like, oh, players weren't shooting threes back then because that's just how you played the game. That's just how you played the game in the 80s. And it's like, who said that's just how you play the game? Like, play the game however you want and do what you want to do. Because I was watching 1991, it was game one against the Bulls, or Bulls versus the Lakers. And when anybody ever asks me who's your greatest basketball player of all time, who's the GOAT, I always say it's Michael Jordan. That is my personal GOAT. But then, to be totally honest, I haven't watched a bunch of full games of Michael Jordan. I've seen the highlights and stuff like that, of course, that everyone's seen, but I hadn't watched a bunch of full games of Jordan. So now I've been trying to get into the habit of just going back to some of these older games, seeing his playoff performances. And when I say performances, I don't mean just his highlights. I want to watch the entire game, see his missed shots, see what he's doing on defense, and see things like that. So with that being said, I have Michael Jordan as my GOAT. Just for that one stretch he had, it was an 11-season span where he averages 31.6 per game on 49% shooting. That was that 11-season stretch from, I think, 86 to 96, basically. So he had some rebounds and assists as well, but who gives a shit? Dude's averaging 31.6 and 49% shooting from the field. I'd say, hey, MJ, keep doing what you're doing, brother. That's working great. I don't give a shit if you get one rebound or one assist. Just keep on doing what you're doing. So I see these numbers, I see the highlights just like a bunch of other people see, and they just think, just like I said, 32 points a game on 49% shooting for 11 seasons straight. There's plenty of guys that can never average 30 points a game for one season, let alone 2 in a row, let alone 10 in a row. It's fucking ridiculous numbers. But like I said, I'll see that. So now I want to watch the actual games and see some full Jordan playoff games and just get a better feel for how the game was played in that era, how spacing was different, just how Michael Jordan and other players, because Magic Johnson rather, is in this series as well. So seeing Magic Johnson, James Worthy, Byron Scott, Scottie Pippen, some of these other players, and just seeing how people look. So I'm watching the game at first, and to be totally honest, I'm just falling asleep like in the first quarter and the second quarter. The game, it just seemed more boring for me. Honestly, that's just my honest opinion. It seemed more boring. The pace wasn't a lot slower if you actually look at the actual numbers. The pace, it's more so once you get into the paint. Michael Jordan, I think it was Bill Cartwright's one of his big men. He had another guy I'm forgetting the name of, but every time they get the ball, Jordan, whoever it is, they're just trying to post up Bill Cartwright, post up whatever other big men they have. And it was the same thing for the Lakers, same thing for the Bulls. They're trying to get the ball into the post to this big man so he can get into some post-up move and try to take a shot or try to dominate this matchup in the post, whatever it is. But I'm watching and I'm thinking, Bill Cartwright's not the best player on the Bulls. Michael Jordan is, obviously. So like I was saying before, people always say that's just how basketball was played back then. You just get the ball to your big man in the post. You let him post up, try to make some moves in the post, and then, if the defense gets dragged in, we'll kick it out for some open jumpers. And I just don't get it. It's like, why? Who said you have to play basketball that way? Because of course I'm looking back in hindsight. I see our era basketball. The floor is so spaced out. It's all about the perimeter players more than anything. And I just think to myself, Michael Jordan's your best player. Like, why not just run everything through Jordan? Like, why are we trying to get the ball into the post for Cartwright and these other guys. Not to insult Bill Cartwright or these other guys, because Cartwright had some nice moves in the post. I saw him hit a lefty hook. He had a little jump stop fadeaway from probably 8 feet away. It's crazy to see the difference between these big men and the big men today, because all the big men I would watch, they just have cold ass post games. They have a left hook, they have a right hook, they have little floaters, they have that little mid range turnaround in the post, and all the big men seem like, back in that early 90s and back in that era, they all have just a complete post game. They know all the post moves, and I will admit that seeing the big men today, I don't mind if you get outside and shoot some threes or have a jumper. I think you should develop all of your game. If you're a big man that can dribble, that's even better. But I do agree with that point. Like, learn your post game first. Once you learn your post game, then start learning your jumpers and your three balls and things like that. But you should have that lefty hook, that right-handed hook. You should be able to dominate when you have a 6'8", 6'7" smaller guy on you. I do notice that in today's game, there's really no post game. A couple of guys have some kind of post game, but back then, like I said, left hook, right hook, floater, turn around over both shoulders. Even an average big man had pretty much an entire post bag, so I did like to see that. There was one point, Vlade Divac, he's on the Lakers. He got a rebound, he caught the ball, and he starts looking around like he's allergic to dribbling the ball, and everyone's kind of running up the court. His point guard, I think, went up the court as well. So Divac turns around, he takes 5 or 6 dribbles, gets across half court, and then passes the ball to one of his playmakers. And the guys on the announcement, they were almost blown away, like, oh, Vlade Divac has great handles. He dribbled the ball up the court and didn't lose it, and got across the half court timeline and passed it off to a ball handler, because it was just so like unseen and so rare to see a big man even dribble the ball up the court or do any kind of dribbling with the ball back then, just because it was all about getting the ball to your point guard. Not even the shooting guard. Like Michael Jordan, he would rarely bring the ball up from this game I was watching. Usually they were getting the ball into the point guard's hands to actually bring the ball up, just because that's how the game's supposed to be played. I guess this was 91 when I'm watching this finals game 1 of Michael Jordan's first finals. And like I said, they just said that's how the game's supposed to be played. And now you see today, everyone's getting a more full bag, I guess you can say. They don't have the post game anymore, but big men are pretty much all able to dribble, defend multiple positions, shoot the three ball, shoot from mid-range. So the game is getting more skilled offensively. There's people that would argue that, but I don't think that's really anything to be argued, because I'm watching this game with the Lakers and the Bulls, and just like they would say, it's 4 people basically in the paint. There's almost one guy at every corner. Your ball handler is out here handling the ball and just trying to pass it down to the post man. Not a lot of movement off the ball at all, and the reason there wasn't, in my opinion, was just because, why am I going to chase you out to the three-point line? You can't shoot the three. A lot of guys couldn't shoot the mid-range. There were some guys that were very good at it, don't get me wrong, but a lot of guys didn't really want to shoot that mid-range. They definitely didn't want to shoot the three ball, like they were almost allergic to it. And I don't know why that is. I guess just not too many guys had developed their three-point shot yet. A lot of guys, one thing that would irk me, I see guys catch the ball, they're basically at the three-point line and say, this is the line. They take like 2 steps into the paint and shoot some long-ass two-pointer when they could have just taken, 1 step back and shot a wide-open three ball. So that's one thing I didn't really understand. I feel like with the evolution of the game, that's at least one thing that definitely makes sense to me. Why are you going to shoot some long-ass two-point shot with your feet on the line when you can just back up literally 6 inches and get the extra point for that three ball? That was one thing I was noticing. People were taking a lot of those long mid-range shots. Jordan took like at least 2 of them where he's just barely inside on the wing, or he's on the corner, almost at three-point range, but just shoots that long 2 ball. And that shot's almost been phased out of the game at this point. People barely ever shoot it. I don't really like how the mid-range shot is pretty much completely out of the game. SGA still has it. There's other players, Kawhi Leonard, Jalen Brunson. All the elite scorers still have that mid-range shot, but it's basically turned into all three-pointers or layups. That's almost all the coaches really want you to get. But like I said, again, I was kind of falling asleep during the game. I'm going to watch the entire game. It's not to be offensive to that era, because it was still pretty fun to watch. I'm just watching it late at night. But the one thing I would notice, just basically no off ball movement. There was no like free flowing offense like you see today. If there was any off ball movement, I was noticing maybe someone sets a down screen for someone, comes off of it, flares into the post and gets a post touch. But if they're doing any movement off ball, honestly, it was just off of a set play to try to get some other player involved. I didn't really see very much of anyone just moving off ball, trying to get themselves open. And again, I think a big reason for it is because these guys weren't elite 3-point shooters. Not to say it was their fault. That's how they learned the game. Growing up, they would watch people post up. People are trying to get their post moves, trying to do everything inside out. Where now the kids will watch the game and you see Steph Curry, all these other dudes trying to shoot these long range threes, doing all this flashy stuff on the court. You see a lot of movement off ball, which I think that's a good thing. That's a great thing for the NBA. It makes the game more exciting with all the off ball movement. I'm kind of in that same boat. I somewhat think there's too many 3-point shots being taken. I feel like back then in Jordan's era, it wasn't they didn't want to shoot the three ball, they just couldn't shoot it back then. And again, not an insult to them, but they just grew up again watching post game, watching mid-range shots, and they saw that and they said this is the way the game's supposed to be played. And now the kids watching the game these days, again, they see all the three balls, all this off-ball movement. Offenses are way more advanced. I feel like defensive schemes are way more advanced as well. As far as the physicality being taken out of the game, I do miss some of the physicality because I grew up watching early 2000s basketball. Hand checking wasn't banned until 2004, so I do miss some of the physicality. And the reason they banned the hand checking was because it was a dead ball era. Players were just not scoring a lot of points. The physicality was kind of reason they said it was, but I guarantee you they could bring back hand checking today. I don't think that would be a terrible idea. They could bring back more of the physicality back to the game because the players are just so skilled these days. The offenses are just so advanced that they can add some more physicality because I do miss some of the physicality in the game. And if you added hand checking back or some of these other things people can do off the ball to be more physical, I do not think we're going to see scoring just plummet or something like that. The players are so skilled. They develop their game so much that I think we could bring back hand checking, bring back some more physicality in the game. My main problem with the game today, and I still love basketball, I watch it all the time, but my main problem with the game today is more just all the flopping, all the foul drawing. I feel like is the wrong word because back then players would play through contact, and now today players are just looking for the contact, doing everything they can, just flopping around and doing a lot of stuff that just looks stupid, to be honest with you. But that's what kind of frustrates me. Players back then, Kobe, Jordan, whoever else you want to name, they would play through the contact. Yeah, you would get fouled, but it's not like you're doing something crazy to try and draw the contact. Yeah, they'll go into step back jumpers and do a pump fake. Then you jump into their space, they go up for their shot, and that is a foul. But it wasn't like these days where you're just ripping your arm through, where people have their hand just doing all these crazy rip throughs, just doing all this crazy flopping type of stuff, to be honest. And that's not to say they didn't flop at all back then, but referees are officiating the game differently, and players know, hey, I can do this quick flop, I can exaggerate this contact and get an easy foul call and get myself to the line. So with the people that would argue that numbers are inflated because now the game's more free flowing, it's less physical, I don't agree with that at all because again, Jordan from 86 to 1996, he averaged 31.6 points on 49% field goal shooting, and that was right towards the start of the dead ball era in 96, from 86 to 96. And like everyone said, the game was way more physical, this and that. And that's the reason why people have MJ as the GOAT. He's still my GOAT. I would consider him my GOAT. I'm just trying to watch these older games to kind of figure out exactly why he is, and just be able to have more substance and more things to say other than just Jordan's numbers were so spectacular. I want to actually watch the games and be able to speak more knowledgeably about Jordan when he was actually playing. But that's one thing that's so impressive. Looking back, Jordan's not really shooting any threes. Everything is mid-range or getting to the bucket. And again, it's just like four dudes all in the paint, basically. Everything is just so congested and clogged. if he's making a pass to someone, it's probably a pass just right to the post or a pass out to Pippen for a little mid-range shot. Nothing is, no cross-court passes for an open three. The floor is not spaced out nearly like it is today, and it's really noticeable. So I think that's one thing that's so impressive about Jordan is that even with the terrible spacing, even with the defense being more physical, he's still able to do the things that he did. When people say that it was so much more physical, it was a bit more physical, but it was a playoff game I was watching, game 1 of the 91 playoffs, and there's still fouls getting called. Like, it's not like there aren't questionable fouls getting called. There's still some stuff that happens where you're like, was that a foul or was it not? So people like to look back and act like dudes are just getting tackled every time someone goes up. They're just getting fucking thrown on the ground and breaking their wrist or something. And it really wasn't like that. There's still some questionable calls. It's just nowhere near what it is today with all the flopping and just how soft officiating is. So I feel like that's one thing that would kind of make the game better today. Again, I still love the game. I think it's really entertaining. But if you brought some of the physicality back, I think they've kind of discussed bringing hand checking back. But I feel like it's just at a point where offenses are so advanced, all the spacing of the game is so advanced that you could bring back hand checking or bring back some more physical aspects of the game, and it would just make it more entertaining. I feel like offense just has such a big advantage over the defense, and you can almost do nothing as a defender to slow down the offensive player. But comment below what you think. Please like and subscribe. Let me know if you think Jordan's numbers would have been inflated from then to today, or if the errors are so much different that numbers were held back or inflated. I don't think numbers are inflated or held back, to be honest with you, because like I said earlier, if you're a Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kobe Bryant, if you're those level of superstars, you're going to put up kind of the same numbers regardless of the era because you're just that great of a player. But please like and subscribe. Comment below and let me know what you think.